Oh, there's too much. That's the thing. There's too much going on in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we supposed to put our attention on? This is where we need trust in the media.
Yeah.
And the media is specifically not doing its job.
Yeah. It really is crazy when you think about it. And I think a lot of the reason that we actually are losing some of that trust is the way that the financial system works right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Tribune has been gutted. Countless other local and regional newspapers have just been, if they're not gutted and like, it's just like not themselves, they're completely gone. Like the Tribune is like, if you go like to like Starbucks like tomorrow morning and pick up the Sunday edition of the Chicago Tribune and compare it to one from like even like 4 or 5 years ago, it's literally a shell of itself. It's not even the same. I think that the Denver Sun, or the main paper in Denver's gone. The main paper in Tampa's gone. The LA Times is still going strong. Washington Post is, because they've got Bezos backing them.
And the CIA, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't a conspiracy. The CIA has a deal with the Washington Post. And so that's why when Bernie ran in 2016, they had 16 negative stories in 16 hours. That's why anytime you see anything about Bernie, it's negative, because Bernie specifically made him bend the knee and pay people $15 an hour. So he fucking hates Bernie. So he's basically using all of the Washington Post's editorial powers to just completely smear him.
Yeah, like we're really at a point now in media. I mean, the newspaper is so important. We don't realize that with, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, like that's not it. Like there needs to be a bigger base of reporting than, just broadcast news channels. But we're down to so little that's left. And I mean, even now, like I subscribe to the New York Times. I like reading the Times and a lot of the stuff that they put out, but they put out some just terrible things.
They endorse two candidates who are not in it anymore. Okay, let's just put it that way. They endorsed two candidates, which is already stupid, and neither one of those candidates are in the race anymore.
That was another egg on the face moment. But it's like, for as much good as they do things that are just like what are you doing, man? Like you're supposed to be the paper of like America, and you're just half-assing it. Like you're not putting enough effort into what you need to. And of course, like living in the Great Lakes, the Heartland, like we don't see things the same as people in New York. I mean, I personally do. I get the angle, but not everyone does, and that's fine. Indiana is very different than, or middle of nowhere Indiana is very different than New York City.
Oh yeah.
But there's that disconnect. If you think about it, like the papers that are still relevant on a national scale are the LA Times, the Post, and the New York Times, and the capital of the government, the financial capital of pretty much the world. And the biggest city on the West Coast, where Hollywood is, so it's the entertainment capital. So you're not really getting a representative view of what real Americans are going through, or their perspectives applied to news stories. Which is dangerous, very dangerous.
Well, and that's where you got to look at their incentive structures, and you also have to keep in mind that people write what they know. Right, so they're gonna write what is related to them, and so if a bunch of people who live in some of these big cities, they hang around a lot of somewhat wealthy to wealthy people, their view is going to be colored by that. It just is what it is. And so then on top of it, when you have like literal corporations funding your advertising, that that if you write a negative story about them, somebody from sales is going to come to you and be like, they didn't really like that story that you wrote. I'm not going to tell you can't write it, but we're going to shelf it if you do. You know what I mean? So it's like,
they're going to stick it somewhere. They're not going to tweet the link. They're going to put it.
They'll hide it. They'll bury
it.
And then one thing that was really interesting was after Bernie's crazy win in Nevada. They had on Alexandra Rojas, who is like one of the leaders of Justice Democrats who helped get AOC elected, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. It was co-founded by Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk on YouTube, if anybody ever watches them. And she was on there, and she like said in the most delicate way possible. It's actually hilarious to watch her try to not ether them to their face. And she was like, well, there aren't a lot of people that look like me or are my age group that are on these panels. And, you guys aren't really getting a real view of how people view things. And people care about these issues. And she said it in the most polite way possible. I got to say, shout out to Alexandra Rojas, because I would have been way more savage. But no, but the truth is like, young people, because of the way that structures work, young people haven't earned it enough to get onto the desk, right? Like you have to work your way up in the system and you can't get up there till you're like 40.
Yeah.
But then when you're 40, you have a different worldview. You have a different way of seeing things.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of young people who, by the way, guess what, are the future of this world and have to deal with the planet that you guys have ruined.
Yeah.
You know, we have to do something.
Yeah.
So if we're not getting representation on media, and guess what, the only people who even watch that are the old people who we need to hear us out.
Yeah.
Then there's the disconnect.